3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. I feel bad. I'll just start off right now with a mea culpa. I have a holiday gift for Elijah Campbell.
Oh, it must be here. I'm really excited to get it.
And I forgot it.
Oh.
But I already told you that, so at least you knew.
I did. Yeah,
so
I added that little tidbit in there for dramatic effect, for a little bit of entertainment. I already knew I was going to get my heart broken.
I did, and that's technically a second day that I have done this to you, which, again, I also apologize for. But
don't know how I'm ever going to get over this.
Well, I can appreciate, too, that you might, in your own mind, say, well, you know, Jay, I could remind you, but it probably would be awkward for someone who's going to be the recipient of a gift and knows the gift that he's going to get to then tell the giver of said gift, hey, by the way, moron, quit forgetting the bleeping gift and hook me up.
Yeah, I'm not going to remind you.
I know. I know.
I think that's a common thing, right? Someone says they're going to get you a gift or whatever.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it, you hate to be like, hey, remember the one time you said this?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll try to sweeten the deal.
Maybe
I'll throw in an airplane-sized bag of peanuts to go along with it.
Ooh. I mean, that is a lot of peanuts.
Yeah. So
that's a ton of peanuts.
There's that. Or maybe those little Biscoffs.
Now, I would take the Biscoffs as opposed to the peanuts.
Yeah, those are good.
Now, when you say airplane-sized, you mean filling up an entire airplane full of them, right? Because that's what I'm assuming. And now you have set a precedent that I've got an expectation for a gift I'm going to get that is enough Biscoffs to fill an entire airplane.
You have gotten me on the words mean things.
Words mean stuff.
That's true.
So I expect to have an entire Boeing-sized container filled of Biscoffs, which means I should not ever be able to get through that. Like, that should be considered a lifetime supply.
I'll be on the
I'm
board.
really excited to get that. I have written that down, and that will actually might
Who
remind
owns
you
Planters these days?
I might remind you.
Is that a Nabisco company? Who owns Planters? I need to get in touch.
Well, you got to pull some strings now, buddy. That's a lot of peanuts and Biscoffs.
I'll see what I can do.
That's a lot.
I'll see what I can do. Anyway, welcome aboard. It's Elijah, me, and all of you today. We're going to play a game later on. I think I know how this is going to go. But Elijah will have full details later on. But we're going to have some fun with the college coaching carousel of recent years. So we'll get into some of that for you. The NFL coaching carousel is spinning. If you were listening at the end of the halftime show during our handoff segment, I guess, for a bit, Tyler and Terry were discussing what the Jets might do next, and
does it even matter?
No, it doesn't, man. And I wish it did. I don't like sitting there saying that kind of thing about the Jets, but whatever.
I like having someone to make fun of, though.
Yeah, I hear you. But Jets need a coach. Saints need a coach. Jaguars need a coach. Who else needs a coach?
There's some teams that haven't even fired.
Yeah, and there'll be more coming. Antonio Pierce apparently could be out in in Vegas, depending on what kind of interest there might be in working for Mark Davis / Tom Brady. I did also apparently see today, don't know, I mean, it's not news yet, but I guess the whispers are that Tom Brady will not be back in a Fox television booth.
He will also not be missed.
No, I mean, look, a great a quarterback as he was, he wasn't a very good analyst, and
he's got the personality of a brick.
Yeah, he's just not very good at it, and that's okay. That's not it's not really here to be like mean about it. He's just
I'm going to mean about it when you get paid that much money.
Sure, that's
you got paid that much money to leapfrog Greg Olson as the number one guy on Fox. I think he deserves a little bit of a dumping.
That's let me be honest. That's Rupert Murdoch's fault.
It is. It absolutely is.
That's on Mr. Murdoch. Don't because that certainly when you're paying anyone in your organization that kind of money, that has to go all the way to the top to get the okay. And I get why they wanted it. But listen, how many of us as sports fans, and there may be a couple, so I'm not going to say it's 100% in any direction, but how many of us as sports fans, especially when we're watching an NFL game, are tuning into the NFL game because of the analyst. Even when the great John Madden was at the height of his powers with Pat Summerall, it wasn't as if we were tuning in solely because of what was, but what happened then, of course, and it still happens today, was, all right, what was the game of the week? They'll be doing it. And you could look ahead to the entire package.
Yeah, they enhanced it.
Yeah.
A good analyst enhances your viewing experience.
And
they don't bring you in.
Unfortunately, and I think the TV folks know this, there will likely never be another John Madden.
No.
And not only that, but a guy like Pat, they were so opposite when it came to how they did things. And then, of course, John worked with Al Michaels and others, once Pat had retired. But anyway, we'll see. We'll get into those things for you. Of course, college football playoff continues this week with Thursday and Friday semifinal games. Was watching both the Josh Pate show this morning and Andy and Ari, the On 3 show. And there's a huge belief that, even Ari Wasserman this morning said that he would take Ohio State at a much higher number than what they currently have, which is like -6. He said he would probably feel comfortable going close to like -14. He said that's how much better than Texas he believes the Buckeyes to be. Now,
I'd take him up on that.
I would say
you can give me 14 points in that Texas team. Sure.
The way they are playing, I get it. I get it. That feels like a lot. I think the -6, that's pretty comfortable.
Yeah. That's a sweet spot right there. I think anything above 10 or saying that you confidently take it, I think might be getting a little carried away.
And I, again, I know it's a 100,000 seater, and there probably will be, when we say majority, it could be 50.1 as a majority. I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be about a 2/3 Texas crowd, which is still going to be 30-something thousand Ohio State fans.
They travel well.
They do. But just because of the game being in Dallas, that's obviously going to matter. But I just think Ohio State's probably a better football team. But Texas can play defense, man. Texas can play defense.
That's arguably the best defense that's remaining in the field. Texas and Notre Dame, I'd say, have the two best defenses remaining.
If Notre Dame and Texas end up playing each other, final score 6-3.
Oh yeah, it'll be a rock fight. Could you imagine the interceptions Quinn Ewers would throw against Notre Dame? That guy's had some creative picks this year. He has done some interceptions in a bevy of ways. This man would have his magnum opus against that defense.
And I like Notre Dame to beat Penn State, but we'll see. But the Irish and Penn State go first, yes?
Yes, they play Thursday.
That's Thursday. Right. We'll spend some time on that. A lot more NFL to get to. I did not. I thought about it. And then I was like, nah, I'll wait till later this week to wear any Broncos garb.
Should have worn the John Elway jersey.
I did think about it.
You know what? I'm actually going to give myself partial credit for fueling the Denver Broncos playoff run.
The last time that blue John Elway that I have was worn was the day that you partook in Rocky Mountain Oysters.
Yes,
over at
Rocky
Columbia
Mountain
Credit.
Oysters as I squeezed into that jersey.
That's right.
And the Broncos. I need to see what the record was since then. So you ramble on. I want to do a little research back here. Some makeshift research.
Okay. They've been they've hovered slightly above 500. The Broncos going into Buffalo on Sunday as around 9 or 10 point dogs. That's probably about right. I do like the fact that the Broncos are very good in a number of defensive categories, including number 1 in the league in sacks.
That's a good thing to be.
So
the best in the league.
that helps. That helps. But Buffalo is a better football team. But it's just nice to be back in the playoff. Again, the last time the Denver Broncos played a playoff game, they did win it. But the last time the Broncos played a playoff game, they won the Super Bowl over the Panthers. That's how long ago it was. You know who else hasn't been to the playoffs since then? The Panthers.
6-4 since I ate the Rocky Mountain Oysters.
That's about they've kind of that's about what they've been doing.
6-4, I guess technically since the game they beat the Saints, in which I agreed to do it.
Right.
I guess the day after they played the Ravens. So no, technically I guess they're 5-4 since I consumed the swinging sirloin.
Yeah. But hey, I'm glad. And I know yesterday. Yesterday the Chiefs had no need to play their A-list roster members, and they didn't.
Carson came and went.
And he was not good. He was good for like 2 drives. And
then he reverted back to being Carson.
The Broncos they were just getting after him. And again, most of the good players on that team didn't play, and I get it. I get it. I I will say this, too, about the Denver Broncos. For as good as they are defensively, and for as good as Bo Nix has done in his rookie season under Sean Payton's coaching and teaching and tutelage, there are still some things to work on. The Broncos also lead the league in 3-and-out percentage.
Ooh, I love that.
They go 3-and-out.
Love that stat.
Better than 26% of the time.
Wait, you're saying they're doing that on offense?
On offense.
Oh, when you say 3-and-out percentage, I'm thinking, they're doing forcing that on defense.
No, not for yeah.
Oh.
I don't know where they are in terms of forcing it defensively, but I know offensively they are 3-and-out more than a quarter of the time.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, it's not, and that's why you have the record you have, and that's why you're third in your division, right? Yeah. I mean, think about that. So, and yet you made the playoffs, so that's good too. You're getting there. But you got to work on the efficiency next year. You got to stay on the field.
Yeah.
You always like to score on those drives.
And a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. And
Granted, your rookie quarterback's old enough to be off his parents' insurance.
He had more touchdown passes than a number of pretty big names this year.
Yeah.
Love.
It was a really good year.
Rodgers.
Shoot, yesterday he was lights out. Really efficient as a passer. He completed, 26 of his 29 passes?
Yeah, and again,
a big deal.
There were no really good dudes up front to make life miserable. So there's that.
Hey, there's some quarterbacks in this league, man. You can have those dudes that aren't very good up front, and you'll still miss layups.
Yeah.
Right.
Detroit, that was fun to see last night. Ended up being a rout. It was a tighter game than the score might indicate, and then it wasn't.
Well, because the Vikings had, how many trips inside the Detroit? 20?
And
5 of them?
The Detroit defense was phenomenal.
Locked in.
When the ball got down low. They were just, and God bless Sam Darnold, he didn't know what was going on.
You want to go look up the dictionary definition of bending but not breaking?
Yeah, but
Last night's Detroit Lions defense.
Has there ever been a team, and I ask this somewhat tongue-in-cheek or rhetorically, right? Because I don't know. But has there ever been a team that has quietly gone out and won 14 games like the Minnesota Vikings? If you look at the Minnesota,
really?
They're 14-3, man.
And they have to play a road playoff game.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Stupid.
And I was thinking about this, too, as we blend topics. There's a lot of talk of the college football playoff. You keep your champions in automatically, whatever new format comes up, right? The automatic conference qualification. But you may not give them the top 4 seeds. And I do wonder at some point if enough noise will be made in the NFL to do the same thing. To where it is done by record, that your 4 division winners will still be in. They just might not all get the home game. Obviously, whoever's going to be the 1 seed, they're going to win their division, right? But Tampa ends up winning the South. I joke, but I think they always won the South? I mean, it feels that way all the time.
It's been 4 straight, unfortunately.
But it's just not a very good division. Mm-hmm. In fact, at times
the last 3 years it's been bad.
It's been a bad division.
Yeah.
But Tampa's there doing it. But I do wonder, because I think college is going in that route. But otherwise, you think about it, there's some similarity there of, well, hey, they won something and therefore they get a little extra. But maybe you keep doing that.
The smartest kid in the remedial math class is still the smartest kid in the remedial math class.
That's right.
That was me sometimes.
Or what's the joke about med school? Like, hey, the guy with the lowest GPA in med school that graduates is still a med school graduate. Yeah, they still call him doctor. So there's that. We'll come back on the other side, and I'm not trying to bury the lead, but just a lot of things that are going on. But we will get into discussion of South Carolina men's basketball's performance on Saturday in Starkville. If you watched...
Sorry.
Then you know. If you didn't and you know, well, yeah, you probably had a better Saturday afternoon than they did. And now, and in Auburn's case, literally the best team in the country, according to the computers at least, is coming to Columbia this week. We'll get into that and more for you. I want you to be a part of the program, whether it's NFL, college football, college hoops, whatever else going on, 803-404-6100. He's Elijah. I'm Jay. This is the Postgame Show. Love telling you about our good friends at Cato's Power Equipment. As I said to you last week, to resolve to do better yard work and to do quicker yard work here in 2025. And it's those of you like me who do it for yourself, just like doing yard work, those of you who do it for a living. Cato's now has so much new equipment that can make the jobs easier, faster, and with less downtime, because so many of the new products that are available to you at Cato's are battery powered. And as Ben and Matt have told me, that means less downtime when things go wrong, because there are less parts to go bad, less things to fix. Now, listen, if you still need things fixed, their service department is the best one in town. I mean, they've been doing it for 42 years now. So, that tells you a lot. But get in and see, whether it's Toro, Gravely, Steel, so much good stuff. Love what I have. I know you will too. Whether you cut your own backyard, you do it for a living, 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, Cato's Power Equipment. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Monday. Can I still say Happy New Year? I just did. Happy New Year. Some of you may not have been with us last week. We were here Thursday and Friday. And I am somebody who likes to say Happy New Year for a while. Some people only like to say it for a few days, maybe a week. I guess tomorrow we are into 1 week of the new year. but Happy New Year. Those of you who came back from Florida, hope you had fun, even though the Gamecocks lost, unless you're an Illinois fan. Maybe you got to go to Disney or Universal. I still haven't been to Universal. I want to go. And now they have that new Mario Land coming. Yeah, it's going to be fun. But I feel like it's weird. I told my family this. If we ever go down to Orlando for a week, and I'm typically doing Disney, and I don't go to Disney at all, I feel like I'm cheating on Disney. You know, I'm such a high moral guy. So anyway, we'll see. Let me remind you of a couple of things. Dawn Staley on Carolina Calls tomorrow. Men's basketball against Alabama on Wednesday night at 6:30. Thursday, we've got a couple of things going on. We won't have it here because of a crossover, but women's basketball will be live on 98.5 FM in Columbia on Thursday. It's sort of a matinee. I guess 5 o'clock's not really a matinee time, but I think they've moved that up in an effort to make sure there's no conflict with the football game. But that'll be on 98.5. And then at 6 o'clock on Thursday, Carolina Calls with Lamont Paris. And by then, Coach Paris's team will have played 2 games. Look, one game does not a conference season make, okay? So I'm not here to say, forget it, hang them up. Look ahead to next year. But South Carolina was thoroughly dominated, 85-50 at the Hump in Starkville on Saturday afternoon. And it was every bit of what that score sounds like. I texted Elijah at one point when the score had literally been doubled up. I remember hitting the text at 54-27. And there were just times, I would not ever tell you that South Carolina looked like lackluster or disinterested in that sense, of like, I can't believe we have to be here on a Saturday. I'd rather be doing it. I don't mean it like that. They were just so thoroughly dominated from the get-go. I mean, the score at halftime was 43-18, and y'all, the first half might not have been that close.
Oh, no. Oh, they did some face saving in the last 6 minutes of that first half.
Yeah, because the first 10, 12 minutes were just brutal. Just brutal. And in the second half, State, if you will, dialed it down a notch, I think, more than anything else. I don't know that Carolina tried. I think Carolina wanted to turn it up to 11. But for a first half where the differential was 25, the second half, the differential was only 10. But it was every bit of a 35-point road conference loss.
Oh, let's play a little game, Jay Phillips. You like playing games, right?
I do.
Okay. In honor of my friends over at Prize Picks, where they just ask you to play more or pick more or less on player projections, we're going to pick more or less on certain things in the South Carolina basketball game. Okay. First 10 minutes of the game, they had 5 turnovers on offense. Mm-hmm. Did they have more or less than 5 points?
I want to say they had 6.
Less. They had 4 points.
Dang, was that where it was? Okay, I couldn't remember. Okay,
and 5 turnovers.
I was thinking that it was 6, but okay. Ugh.
At the 8:30 mark of the first half,
right.
Did they have more or less than 7 points?
Okay, maybe then they were they at 6 then?
You're correct. Yeah, they got their 6th point actually at the 8:30 mark, so they had less than 7 points. They had 23 layup attempts in the game, according to Stat Broadcast. Jay Phillips, did they make more or less than 10?
I'm going to go less, Elijah Campbell.
Oh, you're on to something here. It is less. They had 8 of the 23 layup attempts made in that game. Now, South Carolina coming into the game, Jay Phillips, was top 10 in the country in free throw rate. Mississippi State was one of the bottoms in the SEC in terms of giving up opponent free throws, in terms of fouling and sending teams to the line. In the first half, did South Carolina have more or less than 8 free throw attempts?
Let's go less.
Also less again. Now, at the 8-minute mark, did they have more or less than 1 free throw attempt? With the 8-minute mark in the first half.
Oh, God. Over under 1/2, huh?
1 free throw. Did they have more or less than 1 free throw in the first 12 minutes of the game?
I'll take the under.
Oh, it's actually more, but only by 1. They only had 2 free throws in the first 12 minutes of the game. They didn't get those first 2 free throws until Colin Murray Boyles got to the line with 8:03 left in the first half.
Yikes.
Not good. Not good. That is a nice little snapshot of how bad that first half was, and that first half doomed them. I do not care what happened in half number two.
Let me
don't know if I could care less about what happened in half number two.
Pull up the box score here. South Carolina actually got to the line 23 times to State's 9. Now, State just didn't need to, but and State didn't shoot the ball particularly well from 3.
By the time they got to the second half and the game was a 30-point game, South Carolina got to the line a lot more.
But South Carolina,
pretty damning.
Now, State from 2, or just overall field goal percentage was absolutely fantastic at better than 56%. South Carolina was under 30% from the floor for the game.
Again, more turnovers than made field goals.
That's brutal.
Then points, more turnovers than points in the first 10 minutes of the game. And some of those were careless turnovers.
I don't know which one of these I want to start with. But
man.
Let's go to cut 7. This is Lamont Paris. The question, when did you realize it was not your day?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I've been in a lot of games. You know, if I look back to Chattanooga, even multiple times we played. A couple of times we played Furman, and you should have seen the exchanges between Tanner Bronson, my assistant, and myself at halftime in the locker room, because what offensively we were doing, it just wasn't working. I think one time we had 18 points in the first half, but we did enough defensively that we were still within striking range. So I only make that point because I've seen that a lot. That's why they play 40 minutes. I've seen it a lot. So I'm always optimistic about the character and makeup of our team and how we'll ultimately respond, whether that's we needed to wake up, whether that was we needed to make an adjustment as coaches to what they're doing, whether that's just we need to relax, we need to calm down and play, whatever that is. And so, I don't know, I guess sometime in the second half it was like there wasn't pushing the button, and the button there's a disconnect. It's not, the lights aren't coming on still, which is a dangerous game to play, to flick the lights on and flick the lights off, so I don't know, probably sometime in the second half.
Okay. Now, and we'll get to this on the other side, but there's a question to Lamont about what's coming next. And again, let me remind you, what's coming next is 2 top 10 teams coming to Columbia, including, at least when I last looked, the number 1 team in the net ranking, that is the Auburn Tigers. I believe Tennessee, who's number 1 in the country right now?
Tennessee's number 1 in the AP poll because they have yet to lose a game, but Auburn is the best basketball team in the country by most metrics.
And last
by
year,
my eye test, I would agree.
Scares me, if scare is the right word, is that last season when South Carolina was overachieving and I think was going toe-to-toe with, even once they won in Knoxville and caught the eye of the country, they still continued to win games at a nice clip. But 2, they didn't win. If you want to say they had, 20 games in conference play, and they went 14-6 with the 1-1 in the tournament. They got their doors blown off by Auburn twice.
Mm-hmm. And that Auburn team is better this year.
Yeah.
They got better.
And they come to Columbia and on Saturday, and Bruce Pearl will show no mercy.
No, nor should he.
No. I'm not saying, hey, Bruce, take it easy, man.
Bruce, please.
Yeah. So, but we'll come back with Lamont's take on what is next. Bama first, then the Auburn Tigers. And if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. It's the Monday Postgame Show. The goal of the Joint Chiropractic Centers is very simple. They just want you to feel better. Yep, that's it. They want to improve your overall health with affordable, convenient chiropractic care. If you've been bothered recently or chronically by back, neck, shoulder, or joint pain, get back to feeling the way you want to with the Joint Chiropractic Centers. And here's the even better part. No appointments are necessary. You don't have to worry about insurance. They're open 6 days a week, very convenient locations all across the metro. And if you've never been, you wonder, is this for me? Well, listen, it's very affordable to find out. For just $29, an initial visit gives you a consultation, ask some questions, you get the exam, and the adjustment. And once again, no appointment ever necessary. FSA and HSA approved as well. Janet and Bob Keene, local owners, just want you to feel better. Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian, Sunset Boulevard. They're convenient. They're affordable. You can feel better. And remember, you don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint. Talking Carolina basketball, got into a little bit of NFL as well. Trey just hit us on Twitter, and I'm trying to find something good to send him back here. I'll send...
send him what's on your heart, Jay Phillips.
I'll send him that one right there. There you go. Trey says, I'm a Packers fan, but those Broncos throwback jerseys should go back to being their primary jersey. Those are fire. Yes.
Oh, they're awesome.
Can I tell you, Elijah Campbell, that look yesterday, which was more of the even though they altered them a little bit in the 80s and 90s before they went to the now it's not even a new look. Now it's almost 30 years old.
The look is almost as old as I am.
But I've said, people have asked me before, how did you become a Broncos fan? And I've said, because when I was I guess the Christmas I was 7, Santa Claus brought me a real youth-size Denver Bronco garb. And that's what I got, man. That's what that look was. I had those pants, dude. I had that jersey, number 7. Craig Morton, because I'm older than that. John Elway was still in high school then. Craig Morton, number 7. Randy Gratishar in white, number 53. I had the helmet. I had the wristbands, the sweatbands.
You're basically on the team.
I was a Denver Bronco.
You were on the team.
I was a Denver Bronco. And you know, 7-year-old Jay Phillips will fight you to the death to tell him otherwise.
Couldn't convince him.
Yeah. I was a Denver Bronco, but it was those uniforms, man. It was those uniforms.
They were good.
Yeah.
And the application of it now, some teams will do throwbacks, and the application just doesn't look as good, you know, but those Denver Broncos
Those are
uniforms yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like, better done throwback uniforms. Like the Titans wore some Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
Throwbacks
And that,
yesterday.
you know what? I like that, but it's not the same because Nashville, Houston, Titans, you know what I mean? It's just not the same.
Yeah. It's the franchise.
It is the
Same
franchise. I get it.
Owned by the same family.
But you know what would never happen? The Baltimore Ravens will never wear a Cleveland Browns throwback. You look, my man.
Oh, because there is a team still called the Cleveland Browns right now. Now you're stealing valor.
Can you imagine that?
Now, if the Browns were no longer a team, yeah, that would be hilarious.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That they wear Cleveland Browns uniforms?
If
Yeah.
the Ravens wore Cleveland Browns, they did it against Cleveland. It's like a Spider-Man thing.
The Spider-Man meme, yeah. It's like, and then it looked like an inter-squad scrimmage. And by virtue of just donning the Cleveland Browns jersey, Lamar Jackson would throw for more picks in that game than you would the entire season.
I'm here for that. I'm here for that. But and then there's some franchises that have never really changed their uniform. Raiders,
Yeah,
Browns.
still disgusting.
I mean, even the Cowboys.
Yeah, there's no real Cowboys throwback.
The Cowboys have kind of gotten away from the classic look. They're wearing the navy blue at home more often, and they're wearing the old white helmet
Dumb.
with the star.
Dumb.
And I got to say, for as good as it looks as some uniforms are, I did not much care for that Detroit uniform yesterday.
I didn't either.
I didn't like.
They've had a few this year that I thought were really goofy looking.
Yeah, but Denver looked good yesterday. Hope they look good on Sunday. I don't care what they wear if they just keep winning. But anyway, but thank you, Trey. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. They're pretty. But again, that's that look, man. Hooked me in as a Ute. I wish I had that stuff. And people have asked me that. We're like, no, but my mother, may she rest in peace, loved her dearly. But somewhere around the summer when I was like 14, 15, we moved, and all that stuff just went somewhere. But
To some young boy who it could fit.
not to the new house.
Nope.
And I was like, Mom, where's all my stuff? I don't know. You didn't want it. I was like, you didn't ask.
She's like, "Oh, were you going to wear this little kid?"
I would have probably given the pants and the jerseys away. But you know what? I'd love to have that helmet.
The helmet would be a really cool.
I'd love to have
prop.
that helmet,
I'd love a
man.
helmet as a desk prop.
Yeah.
Which is why on my desk right now I have that airport high school
Yeah,
helmet
that's cool,
that
man.
Shane Fiddler brought me. So shout out, Coach. Thanks. It's a cool desk prop. It makes the desk look cooler.
It does.
Everybody at
Looking at it right now.
In any business and office in America, you need a helmet desk prop.
Well, we have one. We have a Steve Spurrier signed Gamecock helmet on the front of our radio table here in the studio. You can't see it on the camera. Maybe we should move that. You want me to?
We should. Yeah, we absolutely should.
Should I walk around and hold it up for people real fast?
I think you should wear it.
No, I'm not going to wear it.
You should wear it.
Hold on. You talk.
You should wear it. I don't know what the point of us talking about it and bringing it out as you're looking for it. You should wear it. If we're going to talk about it, you got to put that thing on, strap it up, Jay Phillips, and wear it. You have to.
I'm not going to wear it because then it'll become something, and I don't want it to do that. But here you go. And get it close to the camera here.
Got to wear it. Got to wear it. I'd wear it.
I know you would, but I'm not going to.
See, you don't even have the over-the-ear headphones. It would be hard for me to wear that because I have to have my headphones on to be able to hear you.
I don't think this will fit me, dude.
In another room. Oh, that'll absolutely fit you. Your noggin's small enough.
Plus, it says this helmet trophy is for display purposes only. It is not designed to be worn. So I'd be breaking the law.
The law. It is designed to be worn. It's not designed to be hid in.
No, it says right
You're
there.
not supposed to be cracking heads in that, but you can put it on.
Again, if you're watching on YouTube, it says right there that it is not made to be worn. But anyway, here you go. So I'll find a way. Somewhere to put it.
We'll have to display it. But yeah, the best possible desk decoration you could have is a football helmet. this day.
I mean, I think that's certainly something that on debate team you could really push for.
And I'd win.
Yeah. In the meantime, let's get back to it as much as we might want to try and find ways not to.
We did a really good job. We almost milked 10 minutes of a possible 15 in that segment, doing anything but talking about that atrocity that happened in Starkville Saturday.
To take you back to Friday's program, we talked about the fact that Ken Pomeroy's computer projections had South Carolina going 5-13 in conference play this season. And we were talking with our good friend David Cloninger and said that the SEC schedule makers in Birmingham did Carolina no favors by sending them to the hump to start the season and then bringing Bama and Auburn into town. So cut number 9 on the list, please, sir. Lamont Paris in postgame Saturday on a sense of urgency with 2 national title contenders coming to CLA this week.
My urgency is the same for every single game. Every single game. This is an 18-hole story. It's an 18-game story. And at some point you'll look back and say this is what we did or this is not what we did, right? So I don't think there's one bit more urgency than had we lost by 1 or had we won by 7. For me as the coach, there's not one bit more urgency. It's a good team. It's the next game. We're as motivated to be 1-1 in the conference after the next game at the same level of motivation that we would have to be 2-0 had we been 1-0 after today. So no extra urgency. We're very urgent in everything that we do. So no extra sense of urgency whatsoever, I would say, honestly. They happen to be really good teams, but all the games are going to be against really good teams.
I appreciate what he's saying, and I look, we're not here to bury South Carolina already. I assure you that is far from the case, all right? Because to be perfectly blunt with you, this time last year, at least going into conference play, the feeling around this ball club was the exact same. Hey, if they can get 5 or 6, that might be pretty good. They ended up getting 13. The way you saw them play on Saturday would not lend itself to have you believe they are going to find a way to win double-digit games again in conference play. And I think it's going to take that for South Carolina to get back to the NCAA tournament because they went into the non-con with 10 wins. This is right now, from a net ranking perspective, the best conference in the country. 14 of the 16 schools in the Southeastern Conference currently reside in the top 50 of the net rankings. South Carolina is last, and they're in the 80s. I think LSU is like 55. I haven't looked in the last little bit. It changes all the time. But anyway, everybody's in the top 100, right? But if you continue to do some of the things, I mean, you were so thoroughly dominated. Mm-hmm. And if you ask me to, and this is like a rank the first 3 opponents, State is 3rd. Now, you played in their gym, right? Mm-hmm. You played in their gym. But Bama and Auburn, if you told Bruce Pearl, hey, Bruce, you have the team you have roster-wise, but you can't play in Auburn all season, he'd be like, that's cool. We'll still win 25 games.
Then they would.
Yeah.
Because that team is that good.
Yeah. That's what's again, scare is too strong a word, but that's what concerns me about this week. South Carolina has just got to play so much better and do it against better teams.
That's why it was such a kick below the belt to see that team just get manhandled the way they did in Starkville, because that was your most winnable game of the 3 that you play, even if it is on the road. Alabama can be winnable, but Auburn is an absolute buzzsaw right now. That's the best team in the country by a long shot. Mm-hmm. But now, you can do one of 2 things. You can continue playing like you did against Starkville and have the worst January to March of your lives, or you can use that as a wake-up call and be able to correct a lot of what is some really correctable stuff, especially on offense.
803-404-6100. It's the postgame show. Welcome back in. Post-game show continues on this Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Coming up
That's a
next
false
hour.
start.
Thank you.
5-yard.
I don't know. I made it, right?
A little bit of a stutter.
Yeah, a little stutter step. I got there. We'll have more basketball for you coming up in a bit, too. And let me say, once again, here in the final few minutes of the hour, I'm not, like I say, we're not here to bury this basketball team already.
A lot of hoops left to play.
That was just a very, very underwhelming performance. And if you said, well, Jay, did you expect them to win? No, I did not.
I expected them to be competitive.
But I expected, I don't know that 43-18 at halftime did justice to the performance, if you will. I was really taken aback by how bad it was. It did get better. But how much of it was because Carolina played a lot better, and how much of it was because Mississippi State? I'm looking here at the Tennessee rankings. That Mississippi State just decided to dial it back a little bit. I'm not sure. I'd say it's a little bit of both, right?
So it makes those hard to judge.
Yeah. How much of a kick in the pants did Lamont give his team at halftime? I don't know. But you got to find a way to get more done. And, you and I were talking, like, where you got to, scoring on the perimeter needs to be there. And yet you mentioned how bad they were on the interior. I mean, what are you doing missing that many, high percentage shots? Mm-hmm. Are you not, when you look back at some of the highlights, State defensively, and we'll have another cut on this a little bit later on. I don't have time for it right now, but Lamont mentioned that they just were out physical. I think there was a bit of time throughout this game when just how physical and intimidating on in the lane State was really got into the heads of South Carolina players. Mm-hmm. And I think that began to really alter what it was that the players wanted to do, despite what Lamont and the staff may have been dialing up.
And there's another thing, too, that really, I think one of the things that bothered me, too, there are things that you could watch on film that you knew was going to happen, right? If you watch Mississippi State play defense on film, you'll see they will trap the ball every time it gets to the short corner. Every single time. You dribble the ball to the short corner, they're going to trap you. Their whole defense is predicated on keeping the ball towards the sideline, making you drive to the baseline, and not getting to the middle of the floor. And when you get all the way to the baseline, they will use that baseline as a third defender and double team you. You got to be able to keep your composure and not turn the ball over. I'm about willing to bet that out of Colin Murray Boyles' 6 turnovers, I want to say about 4 or 5 of them probably happened in that short corner. Mm-hmm. Cam Scott had a turnover in that short corner where he picked up his dribble. They trapped. Mm-hmm. He tries to lob a pass into Nick Pringle, misses by about 5 feet, and it's off to the races. Yeah. There was another player, Nick Pringle, caught the ball in the short corner, immediate double team, which you know is coming.
Right.
And still throws a pass over to Jamari Thomas where he catches it out of bounds or has a foot out of bounds before he drives. Those are things that you can watch on tape, say, this is what this team's going to do. You got to be able to go out and execute. And they just, I don't know, it seemed to be too many instances where they got double-teamed in the corner, in the short corner, and had no idea what they were going to do with the basketball. And you can't have that. That's a failure on a lot of different fronts. And there's going to be a lot of teams who will play that aggressive type of basketball. Ole Miss does a lot of the same stuff.
Right.
There are a lot of defenses that will do a lot of the same stuff that you saw. You have got to be able to handle those type of pressure situations a lot better than what you did if you.
And if not, you're putting it, even for I agree with you. And even for teams and coaches that may not employ as much of that as State wants to, you put it on film for everybody to see, and they're like, all right, hey, listen, they'll freak out.
We don't trap in the short corner much, but maybe we should when we play these guys.
Yeah, and even a little bit, and it can begin to be one of those things that just, again, gets into Carolina's head. So there's certainly room for Carolina to do more. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, when you look at where things are right now, let me go back to this. Again, you got number if you want to look at the rankings, and that's what I was just doing here. Auburn's number 2 in the country, but again, the computers would tell you Auburn's the best. Take it as you will. Alabama's number 5 in the country. Florida, who you'll see soon, is number 8 in the country, and they just beat Kentucky. Texas A, or no, what was the final score of that game?
Which one?
The Kentucky-Florida game.
106-100.
Yeah. And Texas A&M is number 10 in the country. State is 14th. Oklahoma is 17th. Ole Miss is 23rd. That's a lot of ranked teams this week in the poll. And Carolina's schedule is not very forgiving. I mean, you've got Bama, Auburn, at Vandy, at Oklahoma. Florida comes here, State comes back. You go to Georgia, and A&M comes here. Then you go to Kentucky. That's your January games. Actually, A&M is the last one. So it's going to take a Herculean effort to get back to the NCAAs this year.
That urgency better be there.
Yeah. And I get what Lamont's saying, but you're going to have to play better. You have some chances this week to go shock the world. We'll see. Hour 2 coming up. Love telling you about my good friends at Integrated Media. They also, of course, are in charge of both. That's right. You heard me. Both Pro Swing locations here in the Midlands of South Carolina. The original Pro Swing in Chapin next to world headquarters of Integrated Media on Snapdragon Court, and the brand new Pro Swing opening very, very soon over on Forest Drive. Yours truly, during the break on one of my days off, went and played Harbortown on the Golf Zone Simulator. There's more than 200 courses available, including many, many famous ones here. I got Bethpage Black and a few others on there, I think. It's fun. And if you've seen anything for like this new league that Rory and Tiger are doing, it's a lot like that. I mean, it's so much fun, so realistic. So check them out at Pro Swing. And again, for all your home theater needs, especially with the playoffs upon us, 803-948-8327. Nobody better in home theater across the Midlands than Integrated Media. 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Happy New Year and welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Hope you had a nice weekend. Those of you who are back from vacation, weren't with us for a couple of days last week, howdy. Welcome home. You missed us talking a lot about the football game, football team. Some other things last couple of days. We talked some hoops earlier today. We'll get back into that. A very disappointing men's basketball loss. But Dawn Staley's team has started 2-0 on the young conference season. Ashland Watkins hurt for a little bit. We'll see what that looks like. Dawn will have Carolina calls tomorrow night with updates.
Yeah, hopefully that yields some good results because that would be a big loss.
Yes.
If they lose her for an extended amount of time. And didn't get to see the play. I was in the car listening to it. And Brad Muller didn't make it sound good. So
Brad's good at his job, so I
trust him.
His descriptive abilities can let you know. I was just showing, for those of you who heard us talking about it in the first hour, we were talking about, well, several things. We got to talking about the Broncos uniforms yesterday, the old throwback to the Orange Crush days of the late 70s, early 80s. And that I wish I still had that football helmet that I had from back then when I was a kid. And then it got us to talking about a football helmet that we have here in the studio signed by Coach Spurrier, but it is a decorative helmet. And Elijah was imploring me to put said helmet on my head, and I told him
I was peer pressuring you.
I don't think it's going to fit. And then, listen, I'm not Mr. Rule Follower, but it does say that this is not a helmet that is designed to be worn. And so just for a second there, I was like looking and I was like, all right, let me see here.
Well, the moon wasn't designed to be walked on.
Yeah. But you can now verify that it would have been probably a little much of an ask to get that on my head.
Yeah, I'm afraid
there's
like a piece of paper they put in there that keeps it from anyone's head from touching the top of the helmet, which lame design.
Well, again, it's not a real football helmet. It was made for what it is, which is to be signed by people like Steve Spurrier or your other favorite Gamecock.
But you should still be able to put it on your head. I'm still a firm believer. You should still be able to at least have the ability to put it on your head.
I think a smaller human could get that done.
Yeah, a smaller one.
And I would say, because you are an above average sized human.
Yes, I'm a big boy.
8'2".
Yes, approximately.
I am a pretty average 5'10". But if there were someone more diminutive, they could put it on their head.
They could. I've got a really big head, large melon.
Yeah, he's not really 8'2". He's like
I'm 8'3".
He's like 7'10".
Yeah. We just round up around
a little bit taller than Manute Bowl.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit.
I could post him up.
Well, you probably could actually. Probably weigh the same as him.
We probably do. Or we're dead. Yeah, rest in peace, Manute Bowl.
R.I.P. Yeah, R.I.P. Manute.
But if we put me in a time machine,
yeah,
I could post him up, but that don't mean I'm getting a shot off over him.
That's right.
That thing will be sent to the fifth row without him having to jump.
We'll come back around to some basketball for you, and a little bit later on, Elijah has a kind of a quiz for all of us. I will be the one taking the slings and arrows if I'm doing it wrong, but all of you, Elijah has this designed to play along. It has to do with college football's coaching carousel, which doesn't seem as active this year.
It doesn't, and that's good. It's a boring carousel
well,
year.
I think here's what's happening. Things in life are cyclical. And I think we are getting into a point of the cycle where so many coaches have such gigantic buyouts, and schools are now looking ahead at what will be expected of them in the player payment space, not necessarily the NIL space. Those are two different things in terms of revenue sharing and NIL. That they're just making the decisions. All right, look, we can't like Florida. I think if Florida, if this is 5 years ago, I think Florida fires Billy Napier.
Probably. But
it's not, and they didn't. And there's a few others out there like that. I saw one article this morning that said, Brian Kelly's already on the hot seat. And that's probably true. Brent Venables, I think, will go into the season with the hottest seat in the Southeastern Conference. Fair?
Should, yeah. I mean, this is a guy who...
Well, it's Oklahoma.
2 of his 3 years are losing seasons.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma.
2 of the 3.
Yeah. And
At
the other
Oklahoma.
one, the other was a 10 win, which is expected. That's the norm.
Congrats, but still didn't make the conference championship
Nope.
game.
So
Big 12.
So we'll get into that for you coming up in a bit. We got a lot of NFL to talk about. Let me get into this because I told Elijah I wanted to get into this and kind of get it off my chest. I'm not here to, look, I've covered college sports my whole career. I even did a TV show when I was in school at Carolina. I grew up around here. So I don't ever want to go after, only one time did I really go after a kid, if you will. And it was the Wesley Saunders thing back in the day. And I felt bad about that. And even had somebody say, hey, you need to probably kind of pull back on how you were, because I thought Wesley got Carolina in some trouble when he didn't need to. But that's beside the point now. But the Jaden Rashada story has taken another turn and is getting ready to add another chapter. And if you haven't heard, Jaden, of course, I guess was either the third or fourth string quarterback on Georgia's roster this season. But you may say, well, wait a minute, Jay, why do I know that name from anything else? Jaden Rashada was a five-star kid from California, high school product. He's the one who initially committed to Miami with the belief that there was going to be about a $9 million NIL offer, and then realized that may not materialize, while at the same time being promised up the road in Gainesville, hey, we got $13 million we're going to give you. Now, what he didn't realize is it was 13 million lira.
Monopoly money.
Which is like, $1.50. Now, and of course, y'all know now, Florida didn't have anything close to that either, right? These are just people talking out of their you-know-what. Now, he sued Florida, saying that there was a verbal agreement in place. And Billy Napier is one of the defendants, even though Billy had nothing to do with that Florida collective, which has since been closed down, and the guy that was running his mouth has been thrown into the Gulf of Mexico or something.
He's sleeping with the fishes.
Something. Actually, you know what they did to him? He had to stay on the teacup ride at Disney for like a month straight. Just spinning around.
A minute straight for me is enough.
Yeah, so that was his punishment. And then Jaden ended up going back out west to Arizona State, where his father had played football a couple decades back. And he played okay. And then he got hurt a little bit. And then I guess the Levitt kid kind of came up on him at the same time. And anyway, so he left Arizona State. And he enrolled at Georgia, and he was never going to beat out the top two people at Georgia.
Nope.
Back in Stockton. Not this season, anyway. And so now he's back in the portal. So I'll pause there to take you even farther back. Again, he's from California. But after his sophomore year in high school in California, he enrolled at the IMG Academy down in Florida, which, as many of you know, is a place where tons of elite high school athletes in every sport, almost every sport.
Oh yeah,
go.
Not a real high school.
Right. Well, right. I mean, it is, but it is certainly.
It is, but it isn't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
No.
They do it like the soccer academies of Europe and the basketball academies of Europe. You will get an education, and it will be a good education, but you are obviously there to hone your athletic craft. Anyway.
You're not here to play school. How about that?
He quit.
Cardell Jones Academy is what those schools are.
Yes. Let me stay on point.
Sorry.
Because I could just go in a different direction.
I had to.
He quits IMG, and he goes back to another school. He had to go back to his original high school. They moved and went somewhere else to a, quote unquote, better football program in California. So if you think about it, from the time he was like, let's just say 15 until now, he's like 20, 21. Even though he didn't ever officially go to school at Miami or Florida, he has been associated with them, right? But so 3 high schools. This is getting ready to be his third college, and the two colleges in between. That's going to be 8 associated schools in a 6-year period. I said this on Twitter. The word I used is that's problematic. This is not like I don't know they don't really speak, do the Rashadas. And therefore, a lot of us around the country begin to speculate. Our buddy Matt Moscona in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and down there, that's been on with us a bunch at ESPN Radio down there, just threw out a tweet today. A very simple sentence. Maybe he's just not very good. I said, I don't know if this is because he's unwilling to compete or his father has told him. And I told Elijah, I'll tell y'all, okay, I don't want to be mean to kids. I mean, I've got college-age children, so I know what they go through, and I've been there myself. But at what point do you stop listening to the adults in the room? Is his dad telling him that he's some combination, and what did I tell you, of like John Elway, Warren Moon, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes? You're that good, Jaden. Guess what? I don't think you are. I don't think you are. But you believe you are. And it's great to have belief and self-confidence. It is. It's imperative, especially when you're doing what he's doing and want to do it at the highest level, and he has dreams of playing at the next level. So I'm not even saying that you got to, stick with it no matter what. You need to be better at – you're just not that – you're not that good. You're not Miami good. You're not Florida good. You're not Georgia good. And you really weren't even that good at Arizona State.
They went 3-9.
A year before they emerged onto the national stage. Completed 52% of his passes and was about a 1-to-1 touchdown to pick ratio. It's serviceable if you can run the ball and play defense. And they couldn't. And as you said, they went through. He didn't. That wasn't a whole season. He played half the season, right? Give or take.
Yeah, he didn't play the whole.
So there's something else at play here. But again, 8 associated schools in some way, direct or indirect, in a half dozen years. That's not coincidental. It's systemic. It's an issue in my opinion for the next school. And somebody's going to get him. Is he even going to school? Does the NCAA? They still have the minimum. Do you still got to make a 2-3 to be eligible? I don't know how this works anymore.
Who knows? I mean, if he hits the transfer portal before finals or whatever, or some of his previous stops, because they knew they weren't going to a bowl game in Arizona State last year,
right?
So he could have dipped out early. I
mean, maybe he's just not that good. I mean, do you need to go to and I'm just going to, do you need to go to Akron?
Well, at some point, too, I think this is a good life lesson that people can learn from this. Sometimes it's best to just grow where you're planted, right? You're never going to develop personally, professionally, if you're constantly looking for the next best thing. Because you know what you're going to be doing? Constantly looking for the next best thing, and half the time that next best thing's not coming.
Right. Well, how long? It's
only going to continuously be worse things, and you're only going to dig yourself into a hole. Sometimes you need to just face the adversity at the place that you're at right now and try to achieve something while you're there and grow personally and grow professionally. You're not going to do that if you keep replanting yourself into a different pot every year. Plants need to stay in the same pot for a little bit so they could be able to grow.
I mean, what does it say to him? And clearly the writing was on the wall. Man, I wasn't even listed as the third teamer at Georgia.
You need to have realistic expectations of where you go to this next spot, too. Malachi Nelson's figuring that out, too.
Yeah.
He's the same type of kid.
I think he's going to UTEP, right? Is that what I saw?
You'll be going to UTEP. This will be his third school in 3 years.
So Southern Cal to Boise, couldn't get the job at Boise, now to UTEP.
TJ Finley will be on school number 5. And guess what? He still has 2 years of eligibility. Right. He can hit 7 schools. This one we should just do for the bid. Right? That has become a bid. Because TJ Finley wasn't a 5-star.
Right.
This kid was a 5-star.
Right. Well, and even then, sometimes, maybe
what his limitations are.
I think Matt may have hit it. Yeah, I think, son, maybe you're just not that good, and it's time to accept that, and then figure out what's next. But Jaden Rashada moving on. We'll have more on Georgia with some incoming transfers that should be beneficial. We'll do that for you coming up in a little bit. Some NFL to get to as well as the postgame show. New Year's resolution to save more money and be better with your finances? Well, let the pros at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union help you out with any and all of your banking needs. Checking, savings, credit cards, car loans, student loans, home equity lines of credit. Anything you need when it comes to finances, they can get it done for you. And as a not-for-profit institution, they can do it with lower rates and fewer fees than the big banks. Plus, you have the satisfaction and comfort of knowing that Palmetto Citizens has been in business here in the Midlands since the 1930s. They're coming up on 100 years. It'll be a little while. I don't want to rush their anniversary here to us. But they've been in business a really long time. They've seen a lot of things change in the Midlands, and they're here to help you out. So if any of those things are on your list this year, apply today or simply visit and learn more, palmettocitizens.org, or stop in to any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. My wife and I have been members for years. We love the service. We think you will too. Palmetto Citizens, achieve your potential. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips and Elijah Campbell with you. A lot of NFL to get to as well. The playoffs are set. Detroit last night thumping the very good Minnesota Vikings. I mean, these were
14-2.
Yeah,
Minnesota Vikings.
These teams went into the game at 14-2, both of them. So loser leaves town, and that was the Minnesota Vikings. So they have to play this weekend. Elijah just telling me as well that the Chicago Bears, led by Kevin Warren, if you will, right, the former Big Ten commissioner now running the Bears for the Hallis family, wants to talk with Mike McCarthy.
Looking at it right now, yeah. ESPN's Adam Schefter and Todd Archer report. This is on ESPN as we speak. Bears request to interview Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. This is also the same day that I learned Kevin Warren and the Chicago Bears don't own a television. Or an iPhone. Or have subscriptions to newspapers. Or a radio.
I mean, if you're
Do they know what year it is?
if you're Jerry, you say, yeah, sure.
I'd say take them. And I'll throw you in a bag of chips too. Take your pick.
That'd be a lot easier for Jer.
Sometimes I'm convinced, Jay Phillips, that no one in the National Football League has a bleeping television. Have you not watched the Dallas Cowboys this year? Did you not watch them even before the Dak Prescott injury? Did you not see what they did in the biggest game of the season last year?
Yeah.
On having one of the more talented rosters in football the last couple of years and doing nothing with it. And when he was his last years in Green Bay, having really talented rosters and doing nothing with it, and then Matt LaFleur comes in and they end up being as good as they were for a while. Maybe Kevin Warren has a subscription to Sports Illustrated, but it's only 15 years behind. So he's just now learning that Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl. Maybe. That's got to be the only explanation here.
So I'm seeing the same headline you're now looking at, that McCarthy's contract expires next week. And I know that
the Cowboys are eager to renew it.
Yeah. Who would the Cowboys go get? Here's the thing, man.
That's a good question. And then who would want to work with Jerry Jones?
Right.
Someone's going to do it because there's only 32 of these jobs in the world.
And
I totally get that.
And it's the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, there is, here's the thing. Here's the current job openings right now. New England, Jacksonville, Chicago, the Jets, the Saints. That's it for now. Right? And the Jaguars. Did I say Jaguars? I said Jaguars.
Yeah. And they only have one head coach opening. So I know you read the name twice, but they can only hire one.
Anybody? Raiders could
potentially the Raiders. I think more than likely they will end up.
I don't think anything else is right. I think if Cleveland was gonna, it would have. They made some assistant coaching moves yesterday. Falcons, I don't think they're going to do anything.
No.
I know Dave Canales is safe up the road in Charlotte.
Only been there a year, which, hasn't stopped David Tepper before. But
no, I think this time, you can't, man. You just can't.
Especially after Bryce Young just had the best game of his career.
Yeah, he had a good month. By the way, I heard Ross Tucker talking this morning on the Dan Patrick program about the need for patience and further development of quarterbacks in the National Football League, and how waiting and being patient with them could be a positive thing. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? As if the Geno Smith thing, the Sam Darnold thing, the Jared Goff thing.
Baker Mayfield.
We can go on for days. Yeah, exactly. How many of these quarterbacks recently are having their best years at ages like 28, 29, and 30? Yeah. Not when they're 21 or 22.
And playing for teams that had 2 wins the previous year and have porous offensive lines, no running game, dysfunctional ownership, typically. Yeah.
This is pretty self-explanatory.
Right?
I don't think we're breaking any news here.
If I'm Mike McCarthy, do I go ahead and jump?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No brainer.
I think if they want you,
even if the money's remotely similar, yeah.
Well, because the money, and the money will be fine.
Yes. Get you a fresh start, man. Don't coach with that cloud over your head that you're going to have in Dallas next year.
But then there again, can Dallas lure a successful current NFL head coach?
The money's going to talk. Jerry can pay whatever he wants, and I think he's going to try to spend top dollar.
What's crazy is how often they had talked about Sean Payton potentially being the Dallas Cowboy head coach, and now Sean has this buyout like college coaches do.
Oh, well, could you imagine
Now,
Sean
Jerry
Payton?
will pay it.
Could you imagine Sean Payton coaching for Jerry Jones right now and Jerry trying to draft players for him?
No.
No. Someone will leave that stadium in a body bag.
Yeah.
That would not go out. That would not go very well.
And let's face it, Jerry, as much money as Jerry has and as valuable as the Cowboys are, I will say this, since Jerry's an Arkansas guy too, we do know who owns the Denver Broncos now. And it's the Waltons. And it ain't the TV show Waltons.
No. No, it is not.
So they'd be like,
net worth is a little different.
yeah, so you're going to pay how much? All right, well, we'll do that and add whatever.
Whatever to it.
If I'm McCarthy, maybe I do. If that's the story. Now it's up here as well that they also want to talk to Ben Johnson, the Lions coordinator. He's going to get one of these jobs. He's done. He's had his run. He could have gotten a job in this past offseason, and I think he and Dan Campbell talked and realized, like, man, listen, we got this thing going. All right, let's really see if we can win this thing. And look at him, So
and some guys like being a play caller. They
do
just like being the play caller.
They do.
That's their niche.
But Ben Johnson is going to get one of those jobs. But I think the only other one that has a possibility, it would seem, unless just stuff happens, that's going to come open is the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm really I just thought of this too. Because Mike Vrabel, I think, more than likely becomes the Patriots head coach.
I mean, he's got to be like minus 600 to become the coach, right?
I want so bad 1 year of Mike Vrabel coaching under Jerry Jones as his owner. Just one. For entertainment's sake. I just want one of those.
I think you might just get one game, man.
Before someone leaves in a body bag. And it's either Jerry Jones or Jerry Jones hiring somebody to take out Mike Vrabel.
I read, I haven't heard it, I haven't seen him at the podium, but I believe Mr. Kraft, call me naive if you want to, but I believe him when he said how difficult it was, how much respect they had for Gerard Mayo, how hard it was to fire him, that maybe he just wasn't ready yet, but it was in his contract that he become the head coach. I told you, I wonder if it was, in the contract, but that they maybe knew for a while, hey, we need a year's transition. And we cannot have someone immediately take over for Bill, despite how badly Bill's last couple of seasons went.
Because they were bad.
They were. And then you realize how much of that was because you didn't have – I mean, look.
They were picking third in the draft.
You had an amazing combination for all those years of tremendous coaching and tremendous quarterbacking. And, the only other time I think we've seen something as similar, probably when Bill Walsh was coaching Joe Montana, right? Not even sure I would say that when Chuck Noll was coaching Terry Bradshaw and they won 4 Super Bowls. Vrabel's got to be the guy up there. He
has to be.
He just, and now Drake May is coming around. I'm not saying Drake May is going to be Tom Brady, but at least he's coming around. And I thought your boy Joe Milton did all right yesterday.
Hey, Joe
man.
Milton looked like Josh Allen for 4 quarters yesterday. That was stupid.
That was good.
In the funniest way possible. That ended up being really funny.
All right, we'll come back on the other side. We'll stay with the coaching. Elijah has, how do you want to describe? You got 30 seconds to describe what we're going to do.
So I love going back and looking at past coaching cycles. I like to give, traditionally in my career, I've given coaches 4 years at each stop.
Yep.
With the advent of the transfer portal, you can get older, better, faster, stronger, a lot quicker than you used to be able to. So I'm giving coaches 3 years now. I want to go back and look at the 2021 coaching carousel of coaches who have now had 3 years at their stops. We will look at how these teams have done since they hired them, what they did at their old place, at their new place, and we're going to see if we're going to grade these as pass or fails for these schools.
All right, so we all get to play along, and we'll do that when the postgame show returns.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with an accident on Clemson Road at Summit Parkway, causing some minor traffic backup. We have some objects on roadways here causing some issues. 2 objects, actually, causing issues on 77 northbound and causing some traffic backup. One on I-20 after exit 16, and another one on Killian Road by exit 22. One last accident to get to you here. It's causing some issues. That's going to be over here in Richland County on Park Street near Senate Street.
Talking coaching carousel, both the NFL and college. And do we need do we have game show? Do we need game show music for this? Do we have anything that you want?
I don't know if we necessarily need it, but I'm pulling it up anyway.
Okay.
because everything's more fun with a little bit of game show music.
And this is not really like, I mean, is this more like David Letterman's old stupid pet tricks? It's an exhibition, not a competition. So please, no wagering.
Yeah, please no wagering. But anyway, I mean, it's still a different fun type of game. We'll settle. I had a lot of ideas here, but we'll settle for pass or fail. But I'm going to give you the resume of a coach who took a job in 2021.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what they did once they took the job, what they did at their last job, what they did when they took this job, and what their predecessor did. So you can tell me if this is a pass or fail of the coaching hire.
So this is going to be a coach that has had 3 full seasons.
Yes.
Hired after the 21 campaign. So 22, 23, 24 seasons coaching at current school.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Coach number 1 went 55-10 at the first school, 37-7 in league play. He produced 2 Heisman winners, went to the college football playoff 4 times. This is an incredible resume. His new school hired him for a lot of money. 10 years, $110 million, reportedly. At this new school, he did produce a Heisman winner, but they're 26-14. They have 0 conference titles since he's been the head coach. He's got a Holiday Bowl and a Las Vegas Bowl championship underneath his belt. And his predecessor had a winning percentage of .657, which is a smidge better than his. His predecessor also won a Rose Bowl and won a conference title. Can you guess who this coach is?
Yeah, that one was pretty easy. That's Lincoln Riley.
Ah, that is correct.
Yeah,
yes.
That's Lincoln Riley. And it is interesting to me that it has not worked as well, at least as well as hoped. Now, I don't know if they expected a national title by now.
I think they at least expected a playoff.
Yeah.
It's at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Again.
It does go to show you.
He went to 4 at Oklahoma.
Right. Well, and that's just it.
4-team playoff appearances.
Yeah. Oklahoma's, it's a different animal, man. It's a different animal, which is why Brent Venables really has to make it work this coming season.
There will be a Brent Venables appearance on here, so stay tuned for that one.
Oh, my
friends.
okay.
But I won't tell you when it is. You're going to, and I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out.
Okay.
Second one. This previous coach was 113-40 at his last stop. He did have a national championship appearance back in the artist formerly known as the BCS, back when that was our playoff format. But he's been in the college football playoff twice, in the 4-team college football playoff twice. Signed a 10-year, $95 million deal with this school. At his new school now, he does have 1 conference title game appearance. Did produce a Heisman winner, 0 CFP appearances, and has a 29-11 record, good for a winning percentage of .725. He has collected 3 bowl wins, though, Citrus Bowl, ReliaQuest, and Texas. Yum. But the predecessor, slightly less in the winning percentage column at .718, 1 conference title, a national championship, and 1 college football playoff appearance.
Brian Kelly.
That indeed would be Brian Kelly. His winning percentage not much different than Ed Orgeron, 725 to 718. But Uncle Ed did get 1 title in the SEC and national championship. Had a Heisman winner himself, so they're tied on Heisman winners.
Yep.
But there's yet to be a year in which Brian Kelly lost fewer than 3 games as the head coach at LSU. That's pretty tough.
Boy, you go back not to this most immediate season, but last year with Jaden, and if he just again could tackle a little bit, you win a national title.
If you could play the slightest bit of defense, you wasted one of the greatest offenses and like the history of the sport.
And he was amazing, man.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Here's a fun one right here.
Hey, by the way, when we have these quizzes and you quiz me, I usually suck.
I was going to say.
So right now I'm 2 for 2. So I'm feeling really, really cocky.
You are. Rocco Wallace, NBA player or fake NBA player?
I know Rasheed Wallace. Does that count?
That does not count.
I would say Rocco Wallace is fake.
There you go. Look at that. That's a heat check.
3-0.
That was a heat check just for you, Jay Phillips.
That's like a bonus round question.
And good. And you know what? I've told you that before. That has been on a previous quiz. So sometimes you got to throw something on the current quiz that was on a previous quiz. Teachers know what I'm talking about. Just to make sure the kids are paying attention.
Yeah.
So I had to make sure you're paying attention. All right. Another 2021 coaching change. This fella at his old job, a .729 winning percentage, 35-13. He's the only coach on this list, mind you, that has won a Red Box Bowl. Won the Red Box Bowl. I don't know what the Red Box Bowl is now, and quite frankly, I don't care. He did get a Rose Bowl win, so to collect to his trophy case, he has a Rose Bowl championship and a Red Box Bowl championship. You tell me what's more prestigious.
Yeah. 2
conference titles at this old school. Comes to his new school, 22-16, a .579 win percentage. No conference titles, 0 bowl wins, and he's making $80 million over the course of 10 years. His predecessor, a better winning percentage at .583, but also no bowl wins and no league titles. So a lot of money for very little production and less wins than the predecessor.
He won a Rose Bowl.
And a Red Box Bowl. That's like winning a Blockbuster Bowl. We don't have those anymore.
See, I shouldn't have run my mouth because I don't think I'm going to get this one.
Are you willing to take a knee on this question?
Yeah.
That's a hint.
Oh.
This coach probably should have taken one.
No, he didn't win it. I don't know who is it.
Mario Cristobal. That is Mario Cristobal from Oregon to Miami. And, of course, Oregon's done pretty well since he's been gone.
All right. Dang.
They weren't much different.
You know what? That's what I was thinking, that he win the Rose Bowl. So he went through my head, and then I was trying to cycle through others, and I can't. Okay, darn.
Mario Cristobal did win a Rose Bowl and a Red Box Bowl. Just
I'm still
an incredible trophy case.
Still 2 out of 3 with the bonus question.
An amazing trophy case going on here. All right. This coach, now these last 2 coaches were defensive coordinators.
Okay.
Turned head coaches, taking over pretty prestigious head coaching jobs. One was 120-17 as a defensive coordinator, 2 national championships, never had a season worse than 24 points against per game. At his new job, well, his best season is 21.5 points given up per game. He had one season he gave up 30 points per game. 0 bowl victories, 0 conference titles, 0 conference title appearances, making $51 million over the course of 6 years. And his head coach winning percentage, .564. The previous head coach was .846.
All right, that's our boy Brent Venables.
That is our boy Brent Venables, yeah. Fun fact right there, the defensive coordinator, the defensive wizard that he is, had a few years at Clemson where they were giving up only 12 or 13 points per game.
Had a lot of talent.
Had a ton of talent.
That makes a difference.
I think this is a big fail. Yeah, 2 losing seasons in 3 years. And Lincoln Riley won almost 85% of his games. Lastly, this defensive coordinator also won a national championship back in his day. In his last 3 years as a defensive coordinator, his teams gave up 12, 20, and 10 points per game, respectively. Wow. Pretty good. At his new school, he's 35-6 with an 85% winning percentage. Has a Holiday and a Fiesta Bowl championship underneath his belt. 1 college football playoff appearance. His predecessor won 72.9% of their games, so he took them from good to great, you could say. But that coach has 1 more additional conference title than he does. That last coach did not make the not make a college football playoff. This coach that I'm talking about right now, only $29 million over 6 years when he signed his deal.
I want to say, so I will, that's Dan Lanning.
You would be correct.
Okay. That
is Dan Lanning, a former defensive coordinator. Now, you listen to what he did at Georgia in terms of points against per game. Silly stuff right there. But an .54 win percentage. Out of all of the contracts that I have laid out ahead of you for this exercise here, this is by far the most cost efficient. This might be the best hire. Actually, not might be. This is the best hire of anybody that was on this sheet.
I would think he's going to get a magnificent raise, but I also wonder.
I think he already has received the magnificent raise.
I wonder. There have been multiple pieces written about the NFL's interest in Dan Lanning
because he's a damn good coach. I think he could lead some professionals.
I think that's what it is. There are people who say that he has the leadership.
Yes.
His ability to pull the room together.
He's not much older than a lot of these guys, too. He's only 38.
Right. And we've seen young coaches do well. It's a matter of again, pulling them together.
Yes.
That would be if I was an Oregon supporter in whatever capacity, including their administration. That would be my concern. Is what and another thing too, like what's open. Timing is everything.
Yeah.
So that'd be something to watch for. I did all right.
You did. That's you had what one.
That's the best. That's the best Elijah Quizzes J results yet. So there's that.
That is. No, that was an 80, that which passes. There are a lot of fails on this hire sheet here, but that was a pass, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. All right. We'll come back with a few other things going on around the coaching carousel when the postgame show returns. 11 minutes in front of 5 o'clock here on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Coming up top of the hour, headlines of the day. Around 5:15, we'll get back into more discussion. Yeah, well, we will, I promise, of South Carolina men's basketball's performance on Saturday in Starkville. Dawn Staley's team had a good day yesterday in the same gym. But they did have bad news in that Ashlyn Watkins went down, and we'll have more from Dawn tomorrow night on Carolina Calls as to what Ashlyn's prognosis is moving forward. Let me give you a couple of things here real quick, too. Again, so tomorrow night, Dawn will be on Carolina Calls at 6, so right after we're done tomorrow. 6:30 Wednesday, men's basketball with Alabama. It's a 7 o'clock tip. Thursday, we have an interesting split schedule. Well, not really split schedule. Women's basketball will be on our sister station here in Columbia, 98.5 FM, at 4:30. And then at 6 o'clock on the game here in Columbia will be Carolina Calls with Lamont Paris. And for those who ask, Carolina does that. We broadcast, they decide.
Yes.
Isn't that somebody's slogan?
My slogan is I get told what to do and I do it. I follow instructions. I am a good boy.
So that's how that works. That just wanting you. That's not me. I'm being factual.
Yes.
That's all that is. That's not a judgment. That's not a commentary. That's fact. That's how that works.
They tell us where we broadcast, and when we broadcast, we go do it.
Yep. And we're like, you got it, boss.
I said, aye.
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. Again, the Dan Lanning thing is interesting to me. I think the chance of him going to the National Football League this offseason, if ever, let me pull back. This offseason, I think, is very slim.
Minuscule.
In the future, potentially. But I think it'd have to be the right job.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is for Dan. I don't know if Dan has any interest in it. I don't know. I really do not know. But I think we're going to get to an era here soon enough where we're going to see, I think, not necessarily a resurgence of college coaches to the NFL, but as the lines continue to blur even more, when you see a head coach that's, listen, like for instance, there's schools now hiring GMs, and they're going to focus on a lot of talent acquisition. Now, it's going to be different because the coach is going to tell that GM what he wants, and then they're going to go handle the work. Whereas a lot of times in the NFL, the general manager is the one charged by ownership with kind of crafting the feel of the team, acquiring said talent, and then having a coach go, run the X's and O's.
Managing a salary cap, making sure pieces fit.
But I think now you're going to see college coaches managing a salary cap. And you see the portal and its activity and how those kind of things go. And basically taking a revamped roster every year. Because let's face it, NFL roster turnover every year is probably, depending on the team, it's probably around 20%. I mean, there are a lot of dudes that don't have a job the next season. And a lot of kids that come in. I mean, you're drafting, all those kids every year. 200 and something kids get drafted. And then another however many get the undrafted free agent opportunity. And almost all of them have a job somewhere. Not everybody that gets drafted is going to, make the team come August, September.
Because only 56 players get to make that roster.
But most of them will. I mean, y'all see the point. So there's constant turnover, right? And guys moving from the practice squad, and guys that retire, and guys that get hurt, and say, you know what, I want to be able to walk when I'm 50.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and hang them up. You're going to see a lot more of that, and I think that's going to be beneficial to the upper echelon of college football coaches that might have their eye on it again. I still contend, I know a lot of people talk about, well, just college coaches are college coaches. I get that. I do. And there are rare exceptions that are very, I still contend that Spurrier and Saban would have been really good at it if they hadn't worked at the time for literally the two worst owners in the NFL. I believe that. Some people don't. I understand why. I think Jimmy Johnson started something that I thought more could have followed, because Jimmy was amazing in college and he was amazing in the NFL. And then he went and worked for Stephen Ross, right? At least he worked for the Dolphins, And I don't know how interested at that point Jimmy was in just like being on the boat.
No.
I mean,
at that point, Jimmy's career interest changed a little bit. He kind of already accomplished a lot at that given time.
So we'll see. All right, headlines of the day coming up. That will include some good news, Gamecock football fans, in the transfer portal that has come down in just the last little bit. So actually, I will tell you that will start us off in the headlines of the day from Integrated Media. Coming up in mere minutes. Lots more to do in the final hour of the program. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. This is the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents here in the Midlands to get to you, they're causing some issues on the roadways. Starting with one on Clemson Road at Summit Parkway. It's been causing some traffic backup for about the last hour or so. Got another one recently reported at Hardscrabble Road near Clemson Road, Kilbourne Road at Divine Street, and lastly one in Lexington County, it looks like, on Pine Street between South Carolina 302 and West Dunbar Road.
And it is 5 o'clock news time on this Monday. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Final hour for us as well inside the Herndon Chevy Studios, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Good news for Gamecock football fans as the transfer portal additions continue to come in. This time it is a very highly rated offensive lineman. His name is Bose Stanley. He comes to South Carolina from Troy. He was also a junior college All-American at Georgia Military 2 seasons ago in 2022. He was injured in 2023. Last year, a starter in 12 games for Troy. Gave up just 2 sacks, no penalties called on this young man in 800 snaps. Dang. I mean, I just had a false start earlier today.
You did. You haven't had a whole 3-hour show without.
That's right. Hey, 6'4", 310-pounder. According to Kevin Miller of Gamecock Central, he says Stanley can play pretty much anywhere up front. So he'll be, they'll see in the spring what he's going to be able to do, right? We'll put it that way. He'll
There's
have
some versatility. At
least 2, potentially 3 more years of eligibility. That's still dependent upon the NCAA's long-term ruling with junior college athletes, which has been received with mixed feelings around the country.
It has.
The Diego Pavia situation there, that's going to be the Pavia rule.
That ultimately will become the Pavia
I think that's what they'll call it. But it could benefit Carolina, right? Bam Martin Scott could be one that could benefit from it too. So we'll see. And maybe now Bose Stanley. But there is depth on the line despite what they're losing. A lot of people have seen some time, but again, this is a kid who's a 12-game starter in a very good football conference. And like I say, nearly 800 snaps, no penalties called, so does his job quite well.
Yeah.
It's a good addition. And again, a big one at 6'4", 310.
Really solid pass blocker, especially from the center position. Now, this year he took 461 snaps at center, 318 at right tackle, according to Pro Football Focus. Admittedly, the pass blocking grades at right tackle are not very good, but he did have his best pass blocking games in terms of grades when he was playing at center. His final, 5 games of the season had pass blocking grades of 73, 70, 82, 86, 76, which were his best of the year. And in those games, he gave up a combined 2 quarterback pressures. He gave up 18 pressures on the season. Most of those came when he was over at right tackle. But at center, when you're losing for Sean Lee, is a really serviceable pass.
I was getting ready to say, you know what position South Carolina is losing a veteran presence at?
Center. I would say this guy fits like a glove.
So there you go. Bose Stanley. And he's in. This is not a commitment. He has signed. He is in.
Yes. Because apparently commitment doesn't mean the same thing to everybody.
That's true. I guess, and is school, I should know this. Actually, I don't currently have a Carolina daughter, so.
You don't know if school's in session?
I think it started back today.
Maybe.
If not, it's this week.
It will be in the next.
They will eventually start. I think it's today.
It will be before the national championship game. How about that? I can promise you that.
Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong.
Bleeping January 20th.
Well, I know my daughter in school in Athens and my high school daughter both went back to school today. So there's that.
Yes.
So I know that much.
I will never go back to school again.
That's the goal, my man. That's the goal. Robbie Ashford, meanwhile, has committed to play at Wake Forest. Jake Dickert coming over from Washington State. He replaces Dave Clawson. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like the fit.
I do too, and he says he does. The quote from Robbie, just what Coach Dickert is building, his vision for the program, wanting to win now, and the opportunity to come in and be the guy. You see that. How could you not want to come play for a coach like that? And along with new offensive coordinator Rob Easel from South Alabama, Robbie says the fit is, quote, a match made in heaven. He was a fantastic backup for Lenora Sellers. He had key moments. Had some really nice plays, especially that run against Kentucky, man. That one still sticks in my head. That came at a good time. Mm-hmm. It was a nice one. Kept the drive going.
Resulted in points.
Yeah, while Lenoris was in the back getting looked at for a minute. And, I remember that one. That was a big deal at the time. It was a big deal at the time. And, of course, played the entire game against Akron. Well, not the entire game, but he played most of the game against Akron.
And looked like Michael Vick in the process because I think he ran for well over 100 yards and threw for like 243.
Yeah. So, That was a good one, but good for him, man. Good for him. I'm happy for him. 4 schools in 5 years.
Finally, I hope this is the stop where he gets to play an entire season as the definitive starting quarterback.
Right.
That's what I want for him. That's what I want for him the most. And if he can do that at Wake Forest, excited to keep up with them this upcoming season.
Quick addendum here. Thank you to the Godfather, Brian Glenn. He says Carolina goes back next Monday. He would know. Not because he's in school, but because every once in a while, I don't know that it's what you would call like a college hangout.
But the kids do be hanging out there.
But sometimes I think the college kids go to Village Idiot in 5 Points. Sometimes.
Occasionally.
Or the ones that live over at the mill.
I don't know. I've never been on a Thursday, so I couldn't tell you. I hear it.
I hope people can sense my sarcasm. I hope.
If they haven't by now, then they just need to keep listening to the show so they can develop the sense of your sarcasm.
Just saying. Sometimes. I think it's mostly the residents of Shandon that just like to hang out up there.
Yeah, more than likely.
You just get a slice, a cocktail. Right? Nobody's in there getting pictures and whole pies.
Never.
Nobody's doing that.
I've never done that.
No,
Ever.
why would you do that?
Especially not in the last 2 weeks.
What's the point?
Never.
Right. Thank you, Godfather. I appreciate you. So there you go. All right, there's that part of it. But good for Robbie Ashford. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, Clemson this morning firing defensive coordinator Wes Goodwin. Dabo Swinney says, quote, Wes has been a part of our program for 13 of the past 16 years, played an instrumental part in all of our success. I love Wes and his family and wish him all the best as he continues his journey. I know he has a bright future. He says he hopes, does Dabo, to have a new DC in place by the end of the month or sooner. Quote, our staff has been hard at work on our roster. We look forward to solidifying our defensive coordinator position to help lead this talented group as we pursue our goals. Would you take that as like by the end of the month, as maybe Dabo is eyeing someone who is currently still working?
Yes. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Right.
If you look at the 4 teams that are remaining in the college football playoff, what's one thing they all have in
They
common?
all can play defense, man.
Elite defensive
Yeah, they can all
units.
play defense. That's fair.
So if you can poach one out of there, if you can, be able to pay more than Penn State, Notre Dame, or Ohio State or Texas, which I don't think you're doing that for.
Yeah.
I don't think you're poaching.
I don't think you're getting
Jim
a DC from these schools.
No, probably not.
But
Penn State, maybe.
maybe.
Notre Dame, maybe.
Ooh.
Would be hard, even though Marcus Freeman is the de facto defensive coordinator.
Yeah, that could
he's calling the defense.
That might be the one thing there. But I think I don't know. That'd be tough. But Clemson will pay it.
They absolutely will.
Clemson will pay it.
I mean, they had no qualms paying Garrett Riley what they did to get him.
Well, he's,
to the
what
OC.
is he, 2.3, 2.5, whatever it is? I don't know.
That's awfully short. Just kidding. Salary. Okay. I get what you were saying.
I mean, look, even Clayton. I mean, Clayton now's got what 1.9 this coming season and up to $2 million next. So I mean, that's where the market is. So would Clemson push 3?
It'll be north of $2 million. Yeah, I think Blake Baker kind of reset that market at LSU.
Yeah. Well, Brian Kelly did.
Yeah.
How's that working out?
They weren't as bad as last year.
No, but the year prior they were terrible.
Could you get much worse than
terrible,
that year?
as Charles Barkley would say. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, we move to the National Football League where the playoffs are indeed set. The Chiefs had already locked up the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Lions earned it last night by thumping the Vikings. Again, a game that was close for a bit until it wasn't.
Well, in the Vikings, it wasn't like they just couldn't move the ball. They got into the red zone, and Sam Darnold couldn't figure out where he can and can't throw the football. Out of bounds is not where you're allowed to throw the football.
No, it's not. And I think on most of those plays, it probably felt to him like the Lions had about 16 or 17 players on the field, man. They were everywhere.
They got pressure to him. And look, I mean, I think they got the ball in Detroit territory like 5 different times in that first half, and they just couldn't come away with touchdowns.
Yeah, couldn't get anything.
And they showed a stat on NFL Live earlier today that in the red zone for the first 15 games of the season, Sam Darnold had a uncatchable ball percentage of 12. So 12% of those passes were considered uncatchable. You know what they've been the last 2 games in the red zone?
Better.
43%.
Oh.
43% of his passes in the red zone the last 2 games against Green Bay and Detroit have been considered uncatchable by NFL Next Gen stats.
Yikes.
That's not going to get done.
No, that's not good.
Not going to get done.
That's not good. In the AFC this weekend, Texans at the Chargers, right? No. Chargers at the Texans. Excuse me.
Yes, because the Texans won their division.
Yes, their division.
Which was so
That's right.
good. A loaded division with really good football teams.
No, you're lying.
Yes, I am.
The Steelers will be at Baltimore for the third time this year. Well, not at Baltimore, but for the third time this year, they'll see each other.
Yes.
See, I wish the NFL would do it different. You know,
Not allowed to play division rivals.
not to start the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not to start. Just that one week. Just figure a way out. Like Champions League in Europe. Like you
Would be
can't play
nice.
somebody from your country in the first round.
Yeah. That'd be nice because I don't want to have to see Steelers.
Yeah, you've seen it. You've done yeah. But whatever.
It's a retread, but whatever.
And then my Denver Broncos, back in the playoffs for the first time in 9 years, will be at Buffalo. Thank you.
How about that?
On Sunday afternoon. In the NFC, Vikings will be at the Rams. Washington goes to Tampa. Tampa -3 in that one. That's that.
A week one rematch.
I kind of like Washington to win now.
I kind of do too. I love Jaden Daniels. But of course, rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs, they're not winning a ton of games. You don't get a lot of C.J. Stroud type examples, but I do kind of like them to do that.
And then
they're a better overall team. The Buccaneers have been weird this year, man.
That'll be a night game, by the way. And then on let's see, which one of these is the Monday night game? Vikings Rams is Monday night, which I don't like.
No,
I don't like a Monday. That's too gimmicky. I don't like a Monday night football playoff game. I think you got to play playoff games on Saturday or Sunday. I just don't like the Monday aspect of that.
Don't love that.
That's not cool, in my opinion.
That's Monday. That's a week from today, so the 13th.
And then Eagles Packers. Did I say that already? Eagles will host the Packers.
A couple of week one rematches. The last time the Packers and Eagles played wasn't even in this country or the continent. They played in Brazil last time.
Finally,
that feels like forever ago.
Here's the draft order as we know it based on results. The Tennessee Titans will have the first pick, followed by Cleveland, the Giants, the Patriots, and the Jaguars at 5. Raiders will pick 6, Jets 7, Panthers 8, Saints 9, Bears 10. Niners, wow, weird. Niners picking that's going to be so good for them because once they heal,
they were so bad.
They were just so beat up.
It was fluky.
I mean, for a team with talent wise, it could have won the Super Bowl. That was just a bad year. It happens. So the Niners will pick 11, Cowboys 12, Dolphins 13, Colts 14, Falcons 15. Cardinals 16, Bengals 17, Seahawks 18. The rest of the draft will be determined by who does what in the aforementioned playoffs. So, I don't know right now. Like you tell me, you grew up in Middle Tennessee. Do the Titans really go for Shedeur or Cam? Do they trade the pick and see what happens and get can I be honest with you? I'll just answer my own question a little bit, and I want you. I would trade this.
Yeah.
I would trade this unless you
really think Shedeur or Cam Ward are going to be your quarterback of the future.
I mean,
because it ain't Will Levis, buddy, and I think they would rather swallow a rusty nail than start Will Levis to be.
And I'm surprised because I thought Levis had some of it, but then I don't know. But
Will Levis was bad.
I would trade.
He comically had one of the worst seasons in the NFL. It was pathetic.
I just don't know I don't know who won, but I would trade this.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how quarterback hungry are other teams. If you feel like you could still get a Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders later, but the demand of the quarterback position is just too great, and you got to get somebody. And are you going to take another second or third rounder? Are you going to take Jackson Dart or Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck? Is that going to fix your quarterback problem? I doubt it.
No,
especially with the years that Ewers and Beck had.
Go get Joe Milton.
The one game sample size looks pretty good.
That's our Integrated Media headlines of the day, 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs. Integrated Media. More on Gamecock men's basketball's conference opener when the postgame show returns. All right, so the big time holiday season has come and gone. You had friends and family in the house, maybe for Christmas parties or, over, during the break at any point in time and started to get a little cramped, right? Or maybe you had an in-law just make that comment about, well, I wish this bathroom was a little better or something like that. Well, resolve to make it better when the next holiday season rolls around. Work with Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and take advantage of their home equity line of credit. Get those things fixed and do it as you need it, right? You want to get that guest bathroom redone or enlarged or maybe add one on, redo the kitchen to make those family meals a whole lot easier to prepare, whatever it might be. Palmetto Citizens ready to help you out, and you can do it with lower fees and costs than you can with the big bank. Apply today. Learn more. PalmettoCitizens.org or stop into any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. Welcome back to the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Drive around the SEC is still to come, but for now we'll focus in a little bit on Carolina men's basketball's very, very lackluster performance Saturday afternoon at the Hump in Starkville. Carolina falling by a final of 85-50. And as we said earlier in the program today, that score is quite representative of the display. It was 43-18 at halftime, and I will tell you that score was not representative of that half of basketball, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think it was worse than the score indicates.
It was worse. Carolina, again, we've talked about some of this, but I'll remind those of you who maybe saw some scores. Maybe you're following on the app or something if you weren't watching on a Saturday afternoon. The Gamecocks finished 29.1% from the floor. That includes the 10.5% from three, just 2 of 19 from three. State, on the other hand, was 56.5% from the floor. 32% from three. I'll take 30. Anything over 30. Rick Pitino used to always say, if you make a 30 of your threes, it's as good as making half of your twos. But when you're shooting 56.5 overall, you're making you're getting looks inside. You're making it. State only went to the line 9 times. I don't know. That's a lack of aggressiveness on the part of South Carolina's defense. South Carolina 32 rebounds. State had 40. 18 assisted buckets for the Bulldogs, just 10 for South Carolina. Of course, you didn't make that many. South Carolina turned the ball over 14 times. State turned the ball over 10 times. State had 10 steals to Carolina's 5. It was a dominant performance by Mississippi State, and
73% of their twos made. I had to go back and
that's
73%. Yeah. There was little to no rim protection.
No, I mean, it's just, and that's very concerning for game 1 of an 18-game schedule. And Coach Paris in postgame was asked, "How did it get this bad? What was the reason?" Here's what he said.
Play well. I looked at our game last year at Mississippi State. The opener was at our place, and we were atrocious. We were atrocious offensively. Stagnant. Just made enough plays, but we also went into halftime with a lead because we defended on a consistent basis, on a reliable basis, and we're still learning how to do that. So, and then we got out of it, and then defensively we weren't doing what we needed to do, and then that also one end affected the other end, unfortunately today. But I don't know why it was a bad start. We just didn't have it. If Colin struggles like that, it's a real struggle. He's a good player. It was a real struggle. I don't know. If you ask Chris Jans if they changed dramatically what they did against him last year when he played really well in here, and just he had a poor game. So, and amongst others, we had some other guys too.
Colin Murray-Boyles in 30 minutes, just 2 of 9 from the floor, including 1 of 2 from 3. Missed both of his free throws. Had 10 rebounds. That's good. 1 block, no steals, no assists. Turned the ball over 6 times. Committed 2 fouls, scored just 5 points. So a rough day for the Gamecocks star player. And as he mentioned there, did Chris Jans, who's an excellent coach, just say, listen, stop number 30. Slow him down at least. Contain him, if you will, and see what else they can do. And until such time as somebody else proves they can go do something.
They send a lot of double teams. And that's one thing that Colin does a lot, is catch that ball in that short corner or in that on one side of the floor. You saw against Clemson, actually, where a lot of the offense he created was having one-on-ones on that side of the floor, getting double teamed, and then picking apart where the double was coming from, creating shots, or going one-on-one from that very same spot. The difference between Clemson and Mississippi State is Mississippi State wants you to go to that spot on the floor because they'll double you, and it's a little harder to throw over some of their defenders who are 6'7" to 6'10". Keyshawn Murphy is 6'10", 230, freakishly athletic. Michael Nwoko, 6'10", 245, freakishly athletic. Cameron Matthews, 6'7", 235, probably could play safety for an SEC team, for the football team. Freakishly athletic. A little harder to throw over those guys. And Mississippi State baits you into a lot of putting the ball on the deck on that part of the floor. That feeds into a lot of what they do really well, and that's why Colin was able to not record an assist and turn the ball over 6 times.
Zach Davis off the bench had 22 points in 24 minutes. South Carolina's starters had 22 points.
Not going to get it done. They didn't have a single starter in double figures.
No.
Not a single starter scored more than 8
Colin
points.
had 5. Pringle had 8. Miles Studi made 1 free throw in 25 minutes. Thomas, 6 points. Wright, 2 points. Ugasuk had 4. Cam Scott had 2. Those are your scores. Again, Zach Davis had 22 points. South Carolina scored 50. South Carolina's starters combined to score what Zach Davis did.
You dug your hole in the first 10 minutes of the game where you got outscored 19-4. And in that first 10 minutes, you had more turnovers than you did points.
Cut number 6, please. Lamont Paris. We just gave you, look, there's a lot of guys on that list I just gave you that have played a lot of college basketball. And Coach Paris said he was surprised that Carolina looked as bad as they did considering that level of experience.
Yeah, I was surprised. I am surprised. I'm still surprised that was what it was. It wouldn't surprise me that we went 2 for 19 from 3, right? It wouldn't, or worse. It wouldn't surprise me that we didn't adjust to a couple of the unique characteristics that they have as a defensive unit. That wouldn't surprise me. It's the first time you play those. That wouldn't surprise me. But not fighting the way that we didn't fight today, that did surprise me. It did surprise me. That doesn't anger me, but it did surprise me. We'll show a lot of stuff on the film when we see it. It's just situations where it's you versus that guy, and ability kind of sort of matters, but who you are as a competitor really matters in that one particular moment. And how many ever those that were in the game, we got the short end of the stick in those situations. So that was surprising.
Elijah and I, when I say we, mentioned this earlier in the program, we're not here after one of 18 games to bury this team. But some of the things that I think weren't there include, and that goes back to the answer we just heard, which is where I'm taking this. I don't want to say it's a lack of available leadership, but at what point is an application of leadership more necessary? And I don't know, you saw Saturday, and you've seen it in a few flashes, and you and I have talked about this. You're missing, and like, duh, some would say, you're missing Talon Cooper and Michi Johnson, but you don't just miss their ability to play basketball.
No.
And I don't know if this team is deferring to Colin because of his role. If guys like Pringle, who's new, or Studi, who's in year 2 and have been around this league, aren't as comfortable stepping. I don't know. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not questioning it. I'm not saying there are no leaders. But with Michi and Talon was a one-year guy, you instantly saw direction and leadership on the floor. And I don't know if you're getting as much of that. And is that something that Lamont can try to go, again, not fix, but pull out of some of these guys, because there's tons of experience on this roster.
Oh, well, I mean, you'll either crumble or figure it out and find a way to navigate this conference season, because the next 2 games are against 2 of the best teams in college basketball.
Yes.
You're going to be in more adverse situations, and it'd be foolish to think that you won't. You will be in situations that will require leadership to get you out of the muck and having to slow a game down when one team goes on a big run, because that's what Auburn and Alabama do. They've been doing it all season long, Auburn especially. Auburn is having one of the best seasons in the Ken Pom era, which is the last 25 years of college basketball. It's top 5 in terms of the most efficient teams we've ever seen. You're going to have to find a way to figure out to keep yourself competitive, because I don't know how much mentally you can be engaged if you get the doors blown off for 3 straight games.
It's a difficult week. There's no question. Drive around the SEC is next.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues in the roadways, starting with one on Clemson Road at Summit Parkway. That one's been causing some traffic back up for about an hour and a half now, as well as one on Hard Scrabble Road near Clemson Road, so avoid that if possible. Other accidents include one on Jessamine Road between Mineral Springs Road and Woodbury Road, one on Kilbourne Road at Divine Street, one on Longtown Road near Goff Road, and lastly, one on Pine Street between South Carolina 302 and West Dunbar Road.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Monday. Welcome back in. A little apropos that we hear about a Georgia football victory as part of that sounder, because there's a lot of Georgia football to tell you about in today's Drive Around the SEC. First off, two big-time players, Jalen Walker, Mikael Williams, headed to the NFL draft. Walker, linebacker, who won the Butkus Award as the nation's best this season, first-team All-SEC, alongside Mikael Williams, who, again, also has been one of the best in the country. Walker had 10.5 tackles for loss, tied for the team lead in sacks with 6.5. Walker is the top. Now, let me read this right here. Mel Kiper ranks Walker as the top draft-eligible off-ball linebacker. Williams is the number 2. It is. That's why I had to make sure I read it right. The number 2 outside linebacker prospect behind Penn State's Abdul Carter, who, of course, will be playing later this week. Williams had 5 sacks, 8.5 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles. But he, of course, had an injury earlier in the season. Otherwise, he might have had even bigger numbers. Both are expected to be first-round picks.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So there you go. At the same time, Georgia adds in a couple of big names. The Branch brothers from Vegas. Always fun to be from Vegas. Wide receiver Zach, safety Zion have both committed to Georgia, leaving Southern California. Both are former top 100 recruits who should make the Georgia roster a lot better, especially from all accounts, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't see a lot of Southern Cal football this season, but Zach Branch apparently is very good. Georgia. And
productive.
Yeah.
He's
Georgia,
not just athletic. He's very productive.
1,863 all-purpose yards, 2 kick returns for scores, 78 receptions for 823 yards, 3 touchdowns, tied for the team lead this past season. He also ran for 87 yards in Lincoln Riley's offense. So
downfield playmaker.
Yeah, he'll be good. Zion, on the other hand, played in all 12 games this past season, 19 tackles, 3 PBUs, and 1 sack. He did not start, but he did play in every game. He had injuries in each of the last 2 seasons, but they were kind of, I guess, I hate to say the term package deal, but I think they wanted to play with one another still.
Certainly.
And this kid, he can play. Zion can play. And Kirby, as a defensive back himself, will find a way to utilize the kid. Mm-hmm. But Zach Branch makes them much better.
That's the prize.
Georgia, I didn't even realize this until I read this morning. Georgia led the nation in wide receiver drops.
Oh, the whole damn receiving corps had a case of the dropsies. A serious one.
36 drops, according to the ESPN analytics.
And that Sugar Bowl, too, I mean, there were a couple of really bad ones that would have picked up some serious chunk plays.
I just think so much of that, and we talked about it, too. Look, whether you want to look at it from a comedic standpoint or a serious one or anywhere in between, A lot of the kids that got in trouble at Georgia in this particular, this past offseason, were receivers. Mm-hmm. And it immediately kind of set the tone for those that couldn't play or that needed to come back from it. And it just sort of snowballed on itself. You know, if you're catching more footballs, more productive through the air, what it does to allow you to run more effectively and efficiently is there. It never really did. It just never really did. The Georgia defense is certainly championship caliber. The offense was not.
No. Line play and receivers.
Yeah, it just was not.
Big black marks on the team.
And again, as we said, if this is a down year, it needs to concern the Southeastern Conference because Georgia won the SEC, beat Texas twice, who's still alive in the playoff, and they weren't very good offensively.
And they turned the ball over a lot.
A lot. So there's that. There you go. And one more on Georgia. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but if you didn't hear, backup quarterback Jaden Rashada is entering the portal again based on not the math, but just the counting that Elijah and I have already done. 3 high schools. Committed to one college, didn't go. Committed to a second college, didn't go. Both over NIL disputes. Finally went to a college, played decent.
Yeah, he played.
He played
football.
Yeah. Completed 53% of his passes and had 4 touchdowns and 3 picks. And then he went to Georgia, didn't play, and now he's going to go somewhere else. That's a direct association. Even if he didn't play, it's a direct association in some form or fashion with 8 schools in 6 years.
I have a feeling it's not the schools that are the problem.
Yes. We already had a more detailed discussion, so if you want to go back and listen, we did that with
It's already posted, hour number 2 to start
top
number
of the
2.
4. Top of the 4.
I will say, this is a lot of Georgia talk. A lot of it's more like drive around Athens.
Well, that's just because they're making all the news today.
I'm glad we could talk about driving in Athens and Georgia without anyone getting resulted
hurt.
in an arrest.
Yes, I agree.
Exactly. We all kept it under the speed limit, and I think this is the most drive talk in Georgia, the same sentence.
Right. Well,
that didn't include someone going to jail. That's great. This is great.
They made all the news today. And again, if you want me to repeat one thing for you, South Carolina today getting a signature and pickup from Bose Stanley, 12-game starter at both center and tackle for Troy last season, coming out of the Sun Belt. 0 penalties.
I like that.
In 800 snaps. But he is signed and will have at least 2, potentially 3 years of eligibility remaining. But Bose Stanley, and again, as we said, he's a big one, as you might imagine, 6'4", 310.
That's big.
That's a big one.
That's my height with a lot more pounds added to it.
Yep.
Like 100 extra.
Yeah. And finally, scores from Saturday. Again, South Carolina falling to State in Starkville, 85-50. Tennessee all over Arkansas in Knoxville, 76-52. Auburn beats Missouri 84-68. I think they called off the Dogs late in that one.
They did. The Tigers, if you will.
Alabama 107-79 over a good Oklahoma team.
Despite not shooting the ball well. Like, what do you think of when you think of Alabama basketball, Jay Phillips?
I just think a lot of speed and athleticism and ball movement, but there's everything. I mean, 107. Yeah, what was their percentage?
They shot 31% from
Good Lord.
Meaning they made 61.7% of their twos, and they grabbed over half of their missed shots.
Man, that's frightening.
22 offensive rebounds accounted for 55% of the missed shots.
Kentucky, that was Oklahoma's first loss, by the way. Kentucky handed Florida their first loss, 106-100. A&M beats Texas 80-60. Mississippi over Georgia 63-51. And Vandy wins in Baton Rouge 80-72 in the opening weekend of action across the SEC. Again, South Carolina will see that Alabama team here on Wednesday.
Vanderbilt, kind of good. I mean, I watched that game and I was kind of impressed. They don't turn the ball over a lot. Third in the country.
I saw our buddy Greg Gaston in Memphis had something posted where 15 schools were in some form of consideration. Basically, half the league would make the tournament for sure if it started today.
Yeah.
And probably 2 more would make it. And then you had 5 in bubble talk, which left South Carolina as the one that's not. So, I mean, the Gamecocks have got work to do to make back-to-back appearances in the
They
tournament.
absolutely do.
Yeah. All right, that's our drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Get a little talk on Dawn Staley's team, including what Dawn says about Ashlyn Watkins. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show. Again, on tomorrow's program, or actually tomorrow, Dawn Staley, Carolina Calls. We'll talk about Dawn in just a second. Do want to throw this out there to you as well. One final note on the Gamecocks. Alex Huntley today, I mean, he was done, so this was not like an announcement, but a really just wonderful message from this young man to fans, to his family, to his coaches. He is going to declare for the draft and really pulling for this kid. Somebody asked me earlier what I thought. I don't know. Look, he's a very good football player. What I think NFL teams will do is when they meet with Alex, they are going to see what a lot of us have been seeing in him for years. And as I've said, I'm fortunate enough to have met him years ago when he was at Hammond, and a few of my kids were at Hammond, and he was student body president. He's just a fantastic person, and his ability to pull people together and have people gravitate to him is wonderful, and it's only going to get better as he gets older and matures even more. And I think NFL executives, whomever they may be, scouts first and then up the chain as he goes to places to visit, will see the same things. I don't know what that means for his future. I'm pulling hard for him, but he is a leader of people. And when I don't joke, I've told you this before, off air especially, I don't joke when I say I think this young man will one day be a grown man and be the governor of the state of South Carolina and whatever else that may entail. I believe it.
Leadership qualities, definitely.
I'm very
there.
serious.
He's an impressive person to talk to.
I'm very serious.
He absolutely is.
I think he can be that.
Well, and there's a reason that Shane made him one of the representatives for Media Days back in July. It feels like forever ago in Dallas. He was a really good spokesperson for this team.
I had fun talking with him there. I got a chance to go upstairs for a minute. It was right around the time of our the little gaggle that they let the locals do.
Yep.
And Alex was in the room, and I let Elijah and everybody else go talk to Shane because we knew Shane was coming downstairs later. So I just pulled myself to the back of the room. And
wily veteran
Alex and I just were talking. We were mostly talking about Hammond stuff, just things like that. But he's such a great kid. So really, really pulling for Alex Huntley. Gamecock women, no issues yesterday with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They won quite easily in the hump. But there was bad news in that Ashlyn Watkins went down. Let's go out of order here, if you don't mind, sir. Cut 21. This is a very brief answer from Dawn Staley on how Ashlyn was doing after the game.
Not at the moment.
Do you know if she had to go to a hospital or anything?
No. She's got a little treatment here.
All right, so that was it. Dawn will be on Carolina Calls tomorrow night at 6, and that'll be the next best time to get further guidance from the coach.
Prisma Health Injury Report.
That's right. Look at you. But cut 18, South Carolina continued to play well without one of their star bigs.
I think psychologically for our players, they took it to another level. I mean, we didn't say anything, and we tried not to. We tried to just keep things moving. Obviously, we feel for Ashlyn and her injury and her not being able to finish the game. But the teammates have her back, and they did take it to another level and on both ends of the floor.
Gamecocks 95-68 winners, 2-0 in conference play. Remember, the women's schedule began last Thursday across the conference. Gamecocks winning at Missouri, so they hadn't even played a home conference game as of yet. They will do that starting this Thursday. Again, that's going to be a 5 o'clock game. Do want to remind all of you looking ahead to Thursday, that game is going to be at 5 o'clock. It'll be on 98.5 FM here in Columbia on Thursday, and they're doing it earlier so as to not directly interfere with the college football playoff semifinal game. This is the one in Miami. I know what they want me to call it. I'm just going to say this is the one that's in Miami. Penn State.
Maybe we can call it the OB when they bring the mascot back.
I guess.
Or the cool logo, or the FedEx sponsorship. Because that was cool.
Yeah. Well, listen, I remember as a kid, they had the
logo downgrade.
They had the King of Orange parade, and they had that little guy, and he had his little crown on.
Yeah, that was the soul of the Orange Bowl.
Pelted the parade goers with oranges. I'm just kidding about that.
Well, actually, what they should do now is do the parade every year with Joe Milton on one of the floats, pelting people with oranges,
with
because
oranges.
apparently that was when someone asked him how far he could throw an orange, and he took it from one end zone to the other.
An orange is like a baseball,
Well,
right? Some oranges are actually a little bigger than a
I
baseball.
was going to say, it depends on the orange.
Yeah, it depends.
They're
It
not
does.
if you're throwing the little cuties, then that's more like a golf ball, right?
Yeah.
But like a big orange,
Yeah.
I mean, that can hurt to throw.
They can, man. I mean, sometimes I look at an orange and I'm like, man, y'all all are almost as big as grapefruit.
Oh yeah,
Some of them.
Some of them are real juiced up,
So
like baseball players in the late '90s. Man, some of them are big. Get some Barry Bonds-esque oranges that you can get. Make for large slices, high in nutrients, a lot of value.
I'll get you out of here with this. I don't have a direct quote for yet. We'll probably do some of this tomorrow as we get closer to the playoffs. But Urban Meyer has gone on record saying that the era of SEC dominance that he didn't say this, that he helped usher in, sorta, is over. Do we believe that? Do we believe that? We might.
Maybe, yeah. It depends how you would describe dominance.
That's right. Well, I think it was
If you still win every other year, then you're still doing pretty good. But
Yeah,
we're about to, unless Texas wins it, we're about to go 2 straight years without.
1 year does not a trend make, but some are saying it's not necessarily that. So we'll find out.
If Ohio State beats Texas, then it'll be 2nd straight year without a national title game participant.
Yeah. Good stuff today. Appreciate y'all being with us. Have a great night. We'll do it again tomorrow at 3. See ya.
Quick word, my friends over at Prize Picks. Look, football playoffs professionally will start here very soon. The college football playoffs still underway, and you can get in on all this action. Cash in on the ball, knowing knowledge that I know you have because you're listening to this station. You must know a little bit of ball. You can do that, my friends, over at Prize Picks, and it's really simple. Pick more or less than at least 2 players, and you can win up to 100 times your cash. I'm playing tonight. I'm all in on some professional basketball action. I got more than 12.5 rebounds and assists for Tyrese Halliburton against Brooklyn tonight. And I got more than 27.5 points for Victor Wembanyama against Chicago tonight. If you watch them play on Christmas, man, that guy put up 50 points and did so rather easily. He is a freak. But you know what? Don't take my word for it. Download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Again, promo code 1075GAME. Prize Picks. Run your game.